Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you have clicked on this video, then it is because you would like to see how I use Notion as a medical student. Now, I promised a long time ago I would do a little run through of my Notion, and I've been putting it off for a really long time, but today I am finally ready to show you my Notion. Just a little bit of background: I have been using Notion for nearly 2 years now. Obviously there's a lot of hype with Notion and people go on and on about it, and when I first downloaded it I really didn't get on with it. I found it very overwhelming. I didn't see how it was going to help my productivity, but as I've gotten used to it and learned how to use it properly, it really is a game changer, and I don't think I can live without it these days. I use it for medical school, I use it for YouTube, and I use it for life things as well, so it just has everything I need. I am now a devoted Notion fan. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started: I'm a bit of a perfectionist in that I'm never like fully happy with how it looks, and I'm always changing it. And I think if you are going to start using Notion, one thing to remember is you're never completely done with your Notion. Before I get started, I want to give credit to Twirling Pages, because about a year ago I found her YouTube video and I downloaded her free template, and my entire Notion is based off her template. So if you're looking for a Notion template and you like the look of mine, I'm going to link her video below, because full credit to her. I've just adapted it basically to my needs, and certain things from her template I found I wasn't using and other things I used more. So again, full credit to Twirling Pages. I'll link her video below. So this is my homepage. I just wanted to have a hub with everything on it, and I've split up my homepage into 4 sections. I do think for me, I try to keep my Notion very simple, because if it's overcrowded it does stress me out a little bit. So we have the dashboard, my medicine page, my creative content page, which is YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, and then my the fun stuff page, and that's where I put like holidays, events, anything that is fun goes in that tab. So if we go into the first section, which is my dashboard. Okay, so this is my dashboard. I'll just scroll down so you can see what it looks like. So this is my life dashboard. So at this time I like to put little motivational things here. So at the moment I've put, in 2 weeks the sun will set after 6 p.m, just so the first thing I look at is a positive thing. Sometimes I'll put quotes, sometimes I'll just write little things and little notes to myself there. A bit lame, but it makes me feel good. And as you can see, I've gone for like an orange theme on this page. So if we just start here, we've got my month to view section, and in that I've got 2 pages. I've got monthly goals and week to view. I really don't use the week to view tab because I've got it already down here, but the monthly goals page I do find really helpful. So this is my monthly goals page. We just go into it. So in my monthly goals, I just have my main goals for the month, and let me just go through it because I've not even been ticking it off. So I have booked my first driving lesson, I have booked my theory test, I've finished tour planning, deep clean wardrobe still needs to be done. So anyway, you get the point. Those are my main goals for February, and I update that every month. Then I have this big events thing down there, so any birthdays, holidays, key events happening in the month. And then down here I've got my calendar view. So I try not to clutter it with too many things, but as you can see, March is already looking quite busy. My monthly goals page kind of echoes what's going on in my diary, so it's very similar. It's just nice to have an updated version on here. And yeah, this is a really useful page for me. Then if we go back to home, to the dashboard, then down here we've got a few more bits. We've got bits and bobs. So in there I've got a financial advisor, so that's literally just my incomings and outgoings. I won't show you that, but that's just how I keep track of my spending. In here I've got my bookshelf, which is where I keep track of all the books I'm reading or want to read. It's kind of like, what's that website called? Goodreads. It's like my own personal Goodreads, and I just keep a note of everything I'm reading or want to read. I've got my to be read list down here. It's just a nice little thing to have, to like keep track of how much reading I'm doing, because one of my goals for this year is definitely to read more. Okay, so if we go back to the dashboard, then we've got cinema, which is kind of a list of movies and TV shows I'm watching, but I don't really update it. I don't really have time. I think you'll find when you use Notion, like some things you really use all the time and some things you figure out are just either a waste of time or you don't have time to update. I have my cinema there, but I don't really update that one. And then I've just got this little thing saying this week's focus is to exercise more, because that's fallen off recently. Then down here I've got Lids Life, so that's just lots of little things. My medicine page is linked, and then my habit tracker, which I've also got on the dashboard. Creative content, meal planner, morning routine and night routine. Again, not really using those. I don't use the meal planner at all. And then the morning routine and the night routine, I just have them written out, but I never really go on there because I know my routine and I don't really see the point in checking it off every day. Then in the middle column here, I've got a to-do list. So this is mainly my dump to-do list, so if there's just stuff I need to write down quickly, I'll chuck it there. It's kind of not organised into what it needs to be yet, but it's more of a brain dump area. And then below that I have just got a little playlist embedded, so if I fancy playing some music. Over here I've got my today list. I'll be honest, I only really update this in the week, so when I'm on placement I find it useful just to say what I'm doing all day from 9 to 5, just so it's easier than checking my rota on my phone. If I'm already sat on my laptop, I can just check what I've got next. So I haven't updated this one since Thursday actually, but that was what I got up to on Thursday. And I don't really put my evening activities on there because once I'm not on my laptop in the evening, I don't really check it. But I do find that really helpful just to see the structure of my day, and then if I do have free time, I can slot in time to revise and things like that. And then continuing with the orange theme, also here I've just got the book that I'm currently reading. And then below that we've got my habit tracker. So on here I can just tick off when I've done something, keep track of things I need to do. You can kind of just change these headings, so make it kind of suited to what you want to do every day. Most of these are things I'm trying to do every day, but some of them sometimes a week. So with the workout one, I might only work out 3 times a week. But that's really good to have, just a little habit tracker. And then down here I've got my week to view. So I've got my to-do list dump, but I've also got my week to view, and that's where I separate my to-do list out into day-to-day things. And I tend to fill that out on a Sunday night, just so I know throughout the week what I've got coming up. And I also like to fill it in throughout the week as well. So that's just my week to view. And then down here I've got my classroom. So these are all my important tasks that I need doing, and I've organised them by date due, the course they're in. So PMC is GP placement, then I've got my surgery research project, and then I just tag it based on what it is and where it can be done. So if it can be done on my laptop, my phone, my iPad, and then I could just organise tasks that way. And then finally down here I've got my office. So this is my YouTube content planning and organisation. Again, not to do with medicine, but it's another function that my Notion has in my life. So these are all just videos, due dates, am I editing them, am I filming them, are they sponsored, when am I due to publish them, that kind of thing is all organised here. So that's how I keep on top of all my videos. Okay, so moving on to definitely my most used page on Notion, which is my medicine page. So this has everything I need for the course. At the top of the page I just have my current placement that I'm on. So primary medical care is GP placement, and then here I have quick links. So course structure, a link to Blackboard, which is basically the website where our uni organises all our modules, and then a bursaries and finance link. That's just where I organise any bursary applications I have. Then I've got some Grey's Anatomy artwork there because I'm a loser. And then over here I've got my years organised. So this is where I kept all of my lecture notes in year 1 and year 2. And then in year 3 it is slightly different, but I'll just show you year 2 for example. So if I go into GI, that was a 4-week module we did, and if I open that up, there we have all of the lecture notes I did that year for that module. So if we go into, let's do pharmacology, so I basically just organised it by lecture, and I just tried to summarise every lecture, and just tried to keep the formatting similar for each one, and like I did screenshot lecture slides and things and pop them into here. So that was just the main bulk of my lecture notes last year. Everything looked quite similar. So if we go into pathology, you'll see it's the same, and that is basically how I did lecture notes last year. This year it is slightly different. So if we go back to medicine, so for year 3 my main modules were the research project, and now I'm on primary medical care placement, then I've got surgery, and then I've got medicine and elderly care placement. So if we go into the placement I'm on at the moment, that's primary medical care, and open it up, I basically just use it to track what I'm doing. So here's my big to-do list for the end of the placement, which is actually coming up next week. So this is everything I've got to do next week for GP placement. And then down here I've just jotted down little things, like, so I jot down any conditions I see, and that's just so when I come to revise I know what I've seen on placement and I can look it up, make sure I've got notes on it, and certain things come up again and again in GP. So this list could really go on forever, but that's just what I use this page for, because really there's no lectures for placement. So it is a little bit different this year. So we have the clinical lecture series, and we also have twilight teaching. So twilight teaching are once a month evening lectures. So for example, if I go in there, you'll see that we had a twilight teaching session on interpreting bloods, so I just put the notes for that in here. So I am still doing lectures on Notion, it's just less so compared to year 1 and year 2, and all my lecture notes are still there, which is going to be really handy when I come to revise for exams. That's my course modules tab, and then moving down here I've got my key dates for the year. So I've got when my placements start and end, and then I've got my exam dates, which is really scary. I haven't put the OSCE dates in yet, but they need to go there. I've got a meme here because I like to keep myself entertained. Down here I've got another playlist. I do like a playlist. To be honest, don't really play them that often, but it's just nice to have the option there to play some lo-fi music. Then this is a really important part of my Notion. This is my revision hub. I have curated this and I love this part of my Notion. So here I've got everything I think I'm going to need to revise for my exams. So we've got my OSCE tab, which is just information about the OSCEs we have this year. And then I've got my MCQ tab, which again is just information and resources about the exam. Both of those aren't very full up yet because they're still drip feeding information to us about the exams, and I'm hoping nearer the time we'll get more resources for those. And then I've got my 0 to finals tab. So in there I pop all of my 0 to finals notes, so I use that website a lot, and I've got the book as well, and I'm just slowly working my way through things. When I come across something, or if I just want to revise something, I'll make notes using 0 to finals. So for example, if we go into cardiology, I have been making notes on different conditions, and if we go into chronic heart failure, I've just been using the toggle function to list the main things about each disease, and then I'm going to be able to make flashcards from those. So that is what I've been doing with 0 to finals. Then I've got Lydia's Pharmacy. So this is something I've come up with this year. What it is, it's basically a database, and I have been adding drug names. So every time I come across a different drug, I pop it in my pharmacy and I put it into this table, and then I've got this database of all the drugs that I've come across on placement, and I have kind of tagged them by what drug class they are, by their usage or their indication, their mechanism of action, the usual dosage, which I don't think we'd need to know for the exam, but it's just handy to know the kind of usual dose, just so I know what's a lot or what's not a lot for a dose. Side effects, obviously really important, any contraindications, that kind of stuff we could get examined on, and then a link to the BNF page for that drug. And then I've also tagged the system they're part of, and I've put a list of similar drugs. So this kind of table is building up nicely. I've still got a lot of drugs to get through, but this is kind of how I'm keeping track of pharmacology this year, because I know it's going to be really important in the exams. So if we go back to the revision hub, the last two tabs are A to Z presentations and A to Z conditions. So for those who are graduating in 2025 in the UK, we are sitting the new finals. So we're sitting the UK MLA, which is the UK Medical Licensing Exam, and the UK MLA website has published a list of A to Z conditions and A to Z presentations, and it's basically what we need to know for finals. So if we go into A to Z conditions, I have begun another database, and I've copied and pasted that list into Notion. So it's everything we need to know about for finals, and I've tagged it via speciality or system. And then when I come across it, or when I revise it, I create a page. So for example, acute coronary syndrome, I've started to make notes, and basically I'm slowly building up my notes on each condition we're expected to know about for finals, and that's going to take a really long time. It's not something that is going to happen overnight, but I'm slowly going through and adding things. So for example, here you could see I saw vertigo on GP placement, so I started making notes on vertigo, mainly using past med, 0 to finals, YouTube videos, anything I can find really. But this list, I think over time is going to become really vital to my finals revision, so that is probably a really important part of my revision hub. And also my A to Z presentations is the same thing, so it's like headache, nausea, that kind of stuff. And then finally down here I've just got my important tasks linked from my dashboard in my medicine page, just so I'm constantly being reminded what it is I actually need to do. So that's my medicine page, and that is basically how I'm using Notion at the moment for my course. But I would say I'm by no means an expert, so if you have any more tips on how to use Notion, or you think I'm not being efficient enough with my Notion, please leave me some feedback in the comments and any ideas. I'm always learning, I'm always looking things up with Notion. So that is my medicine page. And then very quickly, just in case you are interested, I've got a creative content page. So this is where I keep track of all my YouTube videos, my Instagram, things like that. And I've just got my content list here, and it's everything I need to do or have done for YouTube. I've got my subscriber goal there, and just a little quick to-do list. So film Notion tour, we can tick that one off. And that is my creative content page. So you can see that I'm not just using Notion for medicine, I do use it for a lot of different things. And then if we just go back to the home page, then the final page, which is actually my favourite page, is the fun stuff. So this is where I keep track of everything outside of medicine and YouTube in my life. So I've got this gallery view, and I think it looks really nice on this page. So I've got 4 tabs here. I've got future trips, so those are any trips, whether they're abroad or in the UK, that I'm planning, because I do love to plan a trip. I'm a very organised person when it comes to holidays. Then I have a 2023 weddings tab. Now I'm not planning my own wedding, but I am invited to 5 weddings this year, so I decided that it needed to have its own section on the page. I'm also invited to 3 hen dos out of those 5 weddings, so it's going to be a busy year for that, and I figured it would be good to use Notion to help me plan outfits, do to-do lists, you know, plan gifts. And the hen dos, oh my god, I'm so stressed. Anyway, that's my weddings page. I've got events because I like to plan things in there. For example, Jack's got a big birthday coming up this year, so I use that for planning things like that. And then I have my archive, so once I've been on a trip abroad, I'll pop it in my archive, because you never know, I might end up going back there, or if I want to recommend something to a friend, I've got my archive there. And that is my fun stuff page, which completes my Notion tour. I think that probably was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but hopefully got the general idea of how I use Notion at the moment. I'll link below the YouTuber who I got the template from, because honestly, I love it. I hope you found that useful. Any questions, please pop them below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!